Finance was in 1987, when I took a week-long course with Dr. Gerald Nisnik, the founder of the Corvette system out in California. So we had to learn it all on our own. Here's an example of Pinterest. Pinterest is another social media company, but Pinterest focuses on the visual aspect of social media. So whereas Twitter is about following conversation, short little tweets as they're called, and Facebook has emphasis on visual, but also has content. Pinterest is specifically visual. However, Pinterest, like everybody else, wants to get a piece of everybody's action, now also has the ability to put text in with their pins, as they call it. So what happens, what's different and unique about Pinterest, aside from the fact that it's mostly visual, is that you can set up, and these are called boards. So this particular office, Smiles of Midtown, which is a Houston, Texas dental practice, has, I believe they have 5 boards right now, even though 4 are only displayed. And they have this cute little gimmick that goes on where they have, they dress up their patients in mustaches and take some pictures of mustaches. And then they have the mascot of the office is a dog, and they have a lot of patients in the practice are animal lovers. They also have the serious aspect where they have their services, and then they have the team members. And if you look at one of these in more detail, you can see that there's a visual aspect along with the text to each post. So these are what's called the pins, and the previous slide are the boards. The unique thing about Pinterest is that the fans of your Pinterest page, if you decide to set one up, can like a specific, or they can follow a specific board. So you are not limited by the number of boards you can set up. If you're a general dentist, you can have a board just for your implant work. You can have a board for veneers. You can have a board for children's dentistry. You can have a board just featuring staff members. You can even have things that don't relate directly to your practice as a community service. Things that are going on in your town, for example. So you can kind of become a provider of information to your patients for health-related and even community-related services. And someone may have an interest in only one particular board. They may not want to know everything. So if they follow you on Facebook and Twitter, they're getting everything you're doing on those sites. On Pinterest, they have the ability to follow just a specific board and find out about a specific service. So let's move on and take a little more in-depth look at Facebook. This is my office business page. I'm going to make the distinction for those that don't know it, because it's an important one, that there are 2 types of pages on Facebook. There are business pages, which has followers, and the business pages are open to anyone. Any information you post on your business page is public. Anyone can see it. Anyone can click the like tab. You don't see the like tab here because I did this slide with myself on my own personal page, and I already like my business page, but it would be here as you see it here on the next slide, which is the Noble BioCare Facebook page. And when I sort this page out, I wasn't yet a fan of Noble BioCare. So you see the word like there. If I click the word like, now it's just transformed me to a fan or a subscriber or a follower, whatever you want to call it, of the Noble BioCare page. So what is the page? The page basically houses the content that you share with your followers. And it also has a cover photo, which is a unique opportunity for people who first see the page. Remember, visuals have the greatest impact on the internet. So people who first see this, you want to put forth a message, much like someone who comes into your office for the first time. You want a very presentable, and attractive reception area for them to enter. You want the exterior of your business to look impressive. You want the staff that first interacts with the patients to be friendly and professional. So in the same way, this photo, which we'll call here a cover photo, has to be an image you want to portray. Now, we're portraying in my office an image of technology. So you see here a monitor with a panoramic X-ray. I'm holding a camera. You see some high-tech equipment here. But also, we want to care, and we do specialize in caring for patients who are phobic of dental care. So we've got this large 200-gallon saltwater aquarium in the wall that actually goes between two operatories. So patients on either side can see that. So someone might see that and say, wow, that looks cool, I love fish, that'll be super relaxing. My dentist has fish, but they're in the waiting room, and when I'm in the office is when I'm scared and I don't see them in there. I can really see myself staring at the fish while the dentist works on it. So, and now again, we look at Noble Biocare, and we see some interesting content here. So you'll see a before and after case that was done in the Malo Clinic, highlighting the services of the company. Now here's a personal page. This happens to be my personal page, but there's a difference with a personal page and a business page. The people who I'm going to interact with on my personal page would be my friends, my acquaintances, family members, things like that. The personal page is not a public page. The personal page is only open to people that I engage with, and there has to be both a request from one person to join with the other person, and then they have to accept. The other person has to accept the request. So when you have an invitation and an acceptance, you now have a connection made between two people who are now joined in the same network of personal pages. This is important, again, to go back to what I'm going to come back to again, is this word-of-mouth referral. The average person in their network has about anywhere between 300 and 500 people in their network who they have become friends with. We as marketers have the ability, if we can attract one person to like our Facebook business page, to market to that 300 to 500 people that are the average Facebook users network, and tap into those people as referral sources without requiring them to be in the same place like my friend and patient Zach was. You no longer require the people who like you and who would potentially recommend you to be there, to say to their friend John, you should go to Dr. Zuckerberg. If we can get them to engage with what we're doing in our social media efforts, and I'll discuss different facets of engagement, if we can get them to engage, their engagement will be broadcast to their network of 300 to 500 friends. And in so doing, their network is going to see, in essence, that they are recommending us to them in a passive form, but nevertheless a powerful form. Here's an example of again, a Facebook newsfeed. We saw a Twitter newsfeed before. So the Facebook newsfeed will have some news items from news sources about James Gandolfini passing away a couple of days ago, information for Facebook owners, restaurant that I happen to favor telling me what's on their menu. Maybe if I'm up in the air about where I'm going to eat dinner that night, that restaurant may have just won me over by telling me what is going to be on their menu. Same thing with our favorite yogurt place in California. My wife and I both have pet flavors that we like, and if we see in the morning that one of our favorite flavors is there, that may influence whether we're going to make a trip to that merchant that day and utilize their service. Here are some ways that some other businesses customize their cover page to make that great first impression. So you can actually fragment little miniature photos, as Likeable Dentist does. Here's a neat one where you can actually direct your users to a particular feature of your Facebook page. So this particular company gives out a free wallpaper, and they have an arrow in their cover photo pointing down to where their Facebook clients can get to that. And lawyers.com, not necessarily my favorite profession, but lawyers.com does a cool thing with their cover photo where they actually have a link to their monthly blog within their cover photo. Very neat. So let's talk a little more about cover photos and what kind of photo. If you notice the shape of the cover photo, it's very, very wide relative to height, which doesn't make it suitable. Not every typical photo you'll take with a camera, unless you're doing a panoramic photo with an iPhone 4S or iPhone 5, or if you have software which is commercially available, we can stitch a bunch of photos together and turn them into. Here's an example of a photo that's not necessarily a great photo for utilization for a cover photo. Nevertheless, when we took this family photo a year and a half ago, my wife insisted that I put it on her page as our cover photo. And I said, well, you know there's going to be a casualty on this photo because we're going to have to do heavy-duty cropping on the top and bottom. You know, the casualties are going to be the people's legs, no big deal, but we're going to lose Beast, my son's dog. And in fact, when the picture ultimately got cropped and fit in there, that's how it looked. So when you're planning, if you're choosing to plan a cover photo for your office that may feature a lot of people, and you've got like say 8 to 10 people you want in the photo, rather than have 5 in the front, 5 in the back, stand everybody end to end. Take the picture, tightly cropping it on the 2 sides, but get a lot of top ground and a lot of foreground, which you can cut out later, and then you won't cut any of the people out, and it'll fit the area perfectly, as this would, except for the fact that we lost Beast. So let's talk some more about differences between business page and personal page. So we've already highlighted that business pages are essentially a business's effort to try and promote their business. And a personal page is usually more for people who want to share information between themselves and their friends. Lots of personal photos, you know, vacation trips, maybe political thoughts, things of that nature. So in my office, I'm trying to share content that I think is valuable to my current and prospective patients. So sometimes it's just something humorous, like this Peanuts video that the ADA put a link out to. And sometimes it's you know, something a little more informative, like articles about a link to an ADA site for symptom checking or something like that. There's also combinations that will do of marketing along with information. So at the start of the baseball season, as my push to try and minimize the number of mouth injuries, I strongly recommend mouth guards for all the athletes, and a lot of the families will buy the inexpensive over-the-counter ones that they just boil and put in their mouth, and I'll use Facebook to show them what a professional mouth guard will look like, how they can get their kids to wear it because they come in cool colors, and then I'll also tie it in with an offer for 10% off if they mention Facebook. Plus, here's a link to the technological or the more scientific article if they want to read more about it. If you have a service in your office that you're looking to promote and tell people about, this happens to be a post that I generated that I was going to put up on Facebook when we debuted our CAD machine in our office in 2009. And this is a perfect example of a way to get technology messages and informative messages out to your patients where social media is far superior to a traditional website. So while traditional websites can really be done beautifully and be very informative, the reality is who's really going to a traditional dentist website? Perhaps a prospective new patient who's checking us out will look at our website and scan the various services we offer. But they're not going to bookmark, and if they come to us and they become regular patients, they're not going to check our regular website on a frequent basis. That requires them to actually say, oh, I've got nothing better to do tonight. Let's go to painlessdrz.com and see what Dr. Zuckerberg has done with his webpage lately. That just doesn't happen. So I can call up my web developer and say, hey, I've got this new E4D. I want you to put together a whole page, and I'm going to drive people there to find out about it. Minimal impact. However, if you've got a base of 300 to 400 or 500 fans who are following you on Facebook, and you put a Facebook post up, they don't have to go to a traditional website to find out. This information is going to be pushed to them via their newsfeed, because once you get them to follow you, to like you, as they call it on Facebook, you now have them as a captive audience. You now have an entree into their newsfeed. So your new E4D that you want them to know about, well, they just found out about it without having to go anywhere that they don't normally go, because they're going to Facebook anyway. So you're now in their newsfeed as a news item that you've just pioneered this. You know, of course, there's other things you want to do. You know, neat little tricks, like you can put your milling machine in the waiting room, so even your patients who don't have to have a same-day veneer or crown or on-light are going to find out, because they're going to see this thing making a bunch of noise and say, hey, what's that cool thing, and what's that noise it's making? But this gives you a way to get the word out to your patient base about the technologies that your office is employing, about the implant services you now offer, about any type of new dental technology that you're employing, or any new message, really, in your office that you want to get out there. And even if a patient doesn't need your service, you've got the word out to your base that you offer. So Mrs. Jones may never need a same-day crown, but maybe her friend will, and she's seen this and knows you offer this service. So when she hears from her friend that they need a crown, and oh, I'm wearing this temporary and it keeps falling out, I gotta go back in 2 weeks to get it cemented in permanently, and I can't get a cold, blah, blah, blah. And she'll say, well, why doesn't your dentist do the crown the same day like my dentist does? She's never had a same-day crown, but she knows about it because of my Facebook post, and that's another potential entree. And if they engage with the ad by commenting or writing a question to you about it, or liking your post, to simply get them to like it, which people do if it's interesting, they're now sharing that information with their network of 300 to 500 friends. So guess what their friends see? Their friends see your post, but on the bottom, they see the name of their friend who liked it. And the assumption is their friend likes it because their friend likes it with Zuckerberg DDS. You can't automatically get that information out for free. Facebook allows a certain percentage, just like Twitter, a certain percentage of your messages will get out to your fans. But if you think about it, the news feed is a pretty small feed. If people on Facebook have 500 friends and like 100 or 200 businesses, that's a lot of content that's competing for that space, for that news feed, to get in there, to get to be read. Okay? And so Facebook wants the user's experience to be a great one, not just a good one. They want people to be on Facebook and stay there for hours, which means that they get more page views and higher ad rank. Of course, more ads are seen the longer people are on Facebook. So Facebook has a vested interest in having great content in their users' newsfeed. How do they do it? How do they make sure only the best of the best get in there? Well, there's to sit there and read every post. They don't have the staff to read all the stuff that's put up there and figure out if this is worthwhile. Hey, that's a great post. But what they do is they can measure the interaction. So the more people that like a particular post, or comment on it, or share it, which is akin to Twitter uses retweeting. They actually take your post. They think it's so good and so entertaining that they want to share it with all their friends. So they click the share button, and voila, the post gets transformed. So you notice each post on Facebook has like, comment, or share. And if they share, which is the best thing that can happen to your content's going viral. Because now you've made the next step. Your initial content is only going out to your 300 to 500 fans. And when they like something or comment on it, you have the potential to go to the next level, the next 300 times 300, or 90,000. 90,000 reachable people that all have one thing in common, and that's that their message is going out to people who are already liking Edward Zuckerberg BBS. Not only are they getting the message, but associated with the message is the power of the word of mouth. Imagine doing a generic Google search, your dishwasher just broke and you need a new dishwasher. And you search for appliance dealers in New York City, and you come up with a couple of pages of results on Google for places that sell dishwashers. But that's all they are. It's just an electronic yellow pages. Dishwasher sellers in New York City. Imagine the power of social, where now you not only get appliance dealers in Manhattan, but with the ads, the names of your friends that like particular businesses. They've had successful transactions with that merchant. That's that word of mouth that we're going for. So the more interactions with a post, the more Facebook is able to quantify that this is a post that's going to merit inclusion in a lot of news feeds. But still nowhere near that 100% saturation. If we want to get our message out there, we have to use some of those big bucks that we're saving by not doing our print ads and get involved with promoting, or I think now they're using the word boost, a post that you can spend, depending on the size of your user base, anywhere from $5 to $20 to $30 to $40 to $50 to get that post, to make sure that that post goes out to all your fans. A Valentine campaign, which is going out to, I think, 5,000 people along, you're in with like 30 other merchants in here, and yeah, there's always one dental aid in here with exam, cleaning, x-rays, full mouth implant we had, whatever, for $65. I'm not getting full mouth implants, but you get the message. That's not going to reach people who you've already engaged with. It's not a message that's going out to your target demographic audience. My target demographic audience here is people that already know me, people that already like me. Imagine a baseball team. Imagine the Yankees want to do a ticket special. They could pay for a broad marketing campaign, ads in the Daily News or the Times or whatnot, and pay for the Times circulation, which is what they're paying for. Not just Yankee fans in there, but everyone who reads the Times or the Daily News. The Yankees had a ticket special, and the Yankees have a Facebook page with 1 million fans on Facebook, which they do. They know that their message is going out to people who are already Yankee fans. That's who they want their message going to, and that's who we want our message going to. People that have already become fans of ours. Check-in is another great way, probably one of the best things you can do to get engagement and get out there to your users' base. So what is check-in for people who are not familiar with? First of all, this is an interesting story. We had UPS made a slight error with we wound up with, instead of our usual 2 cases of 24-pack of Aquafresh toothpaste patient samples, we wound up with 100 cases. Slight error. My receptionist asked me if she could borrow my basement to store them all in. But I said, well, let's give away a bunch to as many as we can to like homeless shelters, temples, churches in the area. But let's also do a check-in special. Let's get people to check in on their smartphones at our office and create engagement that way. But the incentive, why would someone check in? Someone checks in at a business because they like the business and they want to share what they're doing with their friends. Or the business is giving them an incentive to check in. So I'm giving them free toothpaste. How do they check in? Well, they open the Facebook app on their phone, and in the top right corner on the Facebook app there's a check-in button. And if they hit that, the GPS feature of their phone tells them what's around. So in this case, they're the Waldorf Astoria. So I wrote here, when I checked in this morning, that I'm back at the Big Apple for the Noble Biocare Global Symposiums on implants, the dental kind, if anybody is still confused about what kind of implants I'm learning about or teaching about. And the Waldorf Astoria just got some free publicity from me. So all my friends know I'm at the Waldorf Astoria. And if they're looking at a vacation, or friends of mine who don't live in New York are looking for a hotel to stay at, they may ask me, how was the Waldorf Astoria? I saw you were there. Free publicity for them too. And then I'll mention that I'm here with Karen, my wife. That's a double hit for the Waldorf Astoria, because now, while my wife and I have a lot of mutual friends, we've also got a lot of exclusive friends that I have that she doesn't have, and vice versa. The Waldorf Astoria now has the reach of my network of 300 to 500 friends, plus her network of 300 to 500 friends. So when you get people to check in, and we've had this in our office where someone checked in and got the free case of toothpaste, and then someone who drove them for their appointment says, well, I'm not a patient here, but is it okay if I check in here also and get a free? Sure, why not? Now I'm going for a market of 300 to 500 people, and I'm getting a recommendation from someone who's not even a patient of my practice. Then I throw in a little picture of the Empire State Building, just for coolness, because when people see the finished post, the biggest visual that's going to attract them to the post is the photo. So that's how it looks on a smartphone in the newsfeed. In this case, it hits my newsfeed, and it hits Karen's newsfeed because I tagged Karen with me at the location. You can imagine there are events and parties where 8, 9 people tag each other in there. They're all in photo. Massive publicity for the business that they get checked into. And businesses can and should be doing whatever they can to incentivize. Yeah, it helps to get these little stickers to put them on, like us on Facebook. You can't really see it, but if you peel off the back, the sticker part, it says, tell your friends you're here. Check in on Facebook. Got to be better than that, though. That'll help a little, but you got to be better. Here's the results of a generic search for a dentist at Facebook. Can you imagine if I had a toothache, and I wasn't a dentist and this weren't a dental convention? Okay, well, if that were the case, I got to go by this if I'm using traditional media to find a new dentist. But imagine if I use a graph search feature of Facebook. So I'm fortunate enough to have friends in New York. Those friends become my source. So now I do a search for dentist offices in New York, that my friends like. So a whole bunch of dentists come up, and I look at my different friends. This one likes that one, this one likes that one, this one likes that one. Someone who I respect has good taste, or I happen to notice they have great teeth the last time I saw them.